and welcome to another episode of Art and Stage Talk Radio Show. I'm Heidi Hardy, your host and co-host.
I am Tracy Jordan, your co-host.
And we back and forth. We're co-host and host every
right.
week. It's been so much fun. We have fun every
The
single
dynamic
week.
duo, ladies and gentlemen.
It has. I have to say, I look forward to Tuesdays every week. So welcome to another wonderful episode. We have a wonderful guest
Another
in the
week of
studio.
sparkling, glistening, erudite conversation and illumination.
You're using those big words again, Tracy. Well, no. I'm joking. Thanks for tuning in today with us. And, we're going to have a wonderful show. But before we get started with the wonderful show, I know we want to talk a little bit about our wonderful sponsor and benefactor.
Yes, this is a presentation of the Dance Council of North Texas, and we're delighted to have them presenting us. Art and Stage Talk Radio is all about all things that motivate and inspire you in North Texas. We spotlight our guests, their unique stories and programs, and you can become a sponsor and a supporter of Art and Stage Talk Radio by calling 214-219-2290, or you can just email us at advertising@thedancecouncil.org. Sponsorships start at just $25 per show. What a better way to show your support of the arts in North Texas, as well as to reach your potential students, clients, and customers. Call us today or email us for more information at advertising@thedancecouncil.org. And that number again is 214-219-2290.
Thank you. Good job. That was awesome.
Why, thank you.
I was just thinking, I need to record his voice and get a clip of that. It's just gold. It's gold, Jerry, gold. Well, not just that, though. I really want to make sure that we talk about how much these sponsorships mean to us here at the show, but then also to the Dance Council and all the things that the Dance Council does for the community.
Well, we love to spotlight the different organizations, events, and entities, artistic and cultural, in our community and across North Texas. But if you have a story that you would like to get across, it is a wonderful and very inexpensive way to cater a message to your prospective clients, donors, supporters. And remember that these programs live on in perpetuity,
Absolutely.
on demand.
Absolutely.
And it is a link that you can share with those folks and spread your story far and wide. It's not a one-and-done terrestrial radio program. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, we have this fantastic guest, and she's miming some of the
Which
things
isn't to say she's a mime.
Tracy's wonderful announcements. And so, welcome, Lori Darley.
So good to be here. So great. Thank you for the invitation, Heidi.
We're delighted to have you, Lori.
Yeah, I couldn't be more excited. I mean, Lori and I had a conversation, I don't know, maybe a month ago.
Could be longer.
I know.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Who knows? But,
Seems like only yesterday.
Yeah. Well, we have a mutual friend, Michael Stammer.
Yes.
He introduced us, and Tracy, I don't know if you know Michael or not, but he had an early career in the ballet and talks about it frequently. And so he was really excited when he found out that I was part of the Dance Council.
The ballet, everything is beautiful there.
That's what I heard.
And so he said, you have to talk to this woman. She's amazing. And so we were...
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's a neat guy. He really is. But we were informally introduced, and then the minute I picked up the phone and we had a conversation, I was just super excited about her being on the show.
Well, can I talk a little about her?
Please.
As long as I'm in the room, I guess that's
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
I have to put my glasses on anyway. So.
Please no. Don't stop. Well, folks, let me just tell you, Lori is the founder and CEO of Conscious Leaders, LLC. She brings nearly 2 decades of experience as a transformational coach and consultant. She's also the author of Dancing Naked, Claiming Your Power as a Conscious Leader. Now, I'm going to do 5 minutes on that in a minute.
Okay.
We do love the title.
In full disclosure, she is fully clothed, ladies and gentlemen, here in the studio. She's seasoned in the needs of a full range of decision makers and works extensively with C-suite executives in many industries, coaching facilities and facilitates, leadership trainings for a wide array of companies, which include multinational corporations such as Ferrochemical. They're a Fortune 100 Class 1 rail transportation company and a technology company servicing the health industry. She also coaches entrepreneurs and individuals in nonprofit, manufacturing, financial services, management, consulting, commercial real estate, and the arts. Whoa.
Did I leave anything out?
She's very tired frequently. She also serves as a senior consultant for Blue Case Strategic Partners. She's a certified somatic coach. We're going to talk about that for all of those who are sitting out there wondering, what the hell is a somatic coach? And she's recognized by the Strozzi Institute and a certified peak potential trainer. She also has certifications in Ken Blanchard's situational leadership, Gallup Strengths Finder, EQI2, and I've done those. Those are really interesting, as well as Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. She's a approved practitioner of the TED Empowerment Dynamic Program, gives TED Talks. She's received both her BFA and MFA from Southern Methodist University. She's on the faculty with Transitions Institute and is a member and ambassador for the Social Venture Network. She also regularly attends the Renaissance Weekend. This I find very fascinating. If you guys have ever seen anything about that, it's an invitation-only high-level think tank, and they're frequently attended by U.S. presidents, internationally acclaimed scientists, authors, and other luminaries. Now, in her previous career, she co-founded a professional modern dance company in which she also served as artistic director, choreographer, and a highly acclaimed dancer. She was a professional dancer with her company until the age of 43, just 3 weeks ago, when she emerged from that stage of her career as a leader in the arts community. She now brings the wisdom gleaned from years of nonprofit leadership and artistic directorship to the halls of business.
Ta-da.
That's a long,
Dun, dun,
That's a
dun.
long drink of water right there.
It is, but how wonderful to just know that we have somebody in the studio with all this amazing experience. So tell us your story, because I always like to start from the beginning.
That's right.
And
That does portend of quite a story, doesn't
it
it?
does. It's going to be interesting. But I think what really sort of snagged it here was that you're a dancer.
Yes.
And
have been, probably as soon as I came out of my mother's womb.
there you go. There you
know.
go. So she started then.
Dancing around the living room, making up my own dances with the furniture and underneath the sideboards. And anybody even knows what a sideboard is anymore. And like every little girl, probably, I found my power was in my imagination and my desire to express myself to music. And so I started on that journey that so many of us have been on, and little baby ballerina classes, and stuck with it all the way through high school. I performed in a sort of semi-professional company on Long Island, where I was living for my junior high and high school years. And then I took a break. I went to Northwestern for a 2-year stint outside of Chicago at Northwestern University in theater. And I was not made, even though I grew up in Schenectady, New York, I was not made, I think I was done with that kind of cold.
Oh, yeah.
And my parents had moved to Dallas, so I would go in the springtime, on spring break, and it was tropical, and it was I'll date myself, it was the 70s, and disco era was hot, and so was I when I was in Dallas, and so I actually transferred into the SMU dance division.
She moved to Texas and she said, hey, I kind of like these mosquitoes. I think I'll move here.
They weren't as much of an issue as they seem to be now, but certainly not as horrifying. But I did love the heat. And as a dancer, our lives are pretty much in pursuit of heat and warmth and humidity and anything that has our joints be sort of lubricated.
Blood flowing.
Yes, and the blood flowing. And so it was once I graduated, myself and 9 other co-founders of Dancers Unlimited Repertory Company, we started a company, and we had $400 from our one of the 500 Inc. founders, Polly Lou Moore, and we we started, they say in the old Mickey Rooney movies, right, and Judy Garland and Debbie Reynolds movies, let's just build a barn and put on a show. Let's put on a show, right? So we ended up being one of probably the first organizations that made a home at 1924 and a half Main Street, over the Schick Shaving Center and across the street from the bail bondsman. And that was our home for about 8 years, and it was an extraordinary place. It was before all the gentrification happened, and it was kind of risky down there.
Yeah.
But it was an extraordinary several years. Of course, we were actually 10. We were a collective, an artistic director collective. So we had 10 artistic directors.
Oh, how did those conversations go?
Well, we were artists. What do you think? There was a lot of drama.
I was going to say, wow, 10 opinions.
Right. And there was a lot of discussion, probably as much discussion as there was dancing happening at the time. And, we had a lot of artistic success. There in 1986, I think, we commissioned a world premiere work with Judith Jameson. Mm-hmm. And we had an opportunity to work with Moses Pendleton of Momix and a number of dancers from Pilobolus, and then we were also choreographing. And it was until about 1990, I actually took over. We were a triumvirate for the last several years before the company went through yet another transition. And I was the sole artistic director for its final 10 years. And so shall I continue on?
Oh, yes.
Question?
Well, yeah. So you went right into the profession of being a dancer and being an artistic director. There was no stop, go, pass, go, or any of that.
It was pretty entrepreneurial when you really think about it.
I'm gonna give you these kudos too, and perhaps you can write it off to being young and naive and ignorant.
That had a lot to do with it.
Fresh out of college. Hey, I've got a degree. Hey, we're all artistic. We're going to build a dance company in Dallas,
and a contemporary one at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our idea
exactly.
was we're going to do it all. We're going to do ballet, tap, and jazz. Actually, not tap because that was never my thing, but just because I had really stiff ankles. But it was one where eventually we decided that our direction was truly in the contemporary mode, but didn't keep us from getting on a platform stage in the ballrooms of hotel rooms and teaching ballet routines as a way of making a living during the summertime.
Were you guys starving artists? I mean, did you
of
have
course
those
we
years?
were. Yes, we were starving
But you
artists
loved
the
what you
entire.
did.
It was the entire time. We had some early funding. Polly Lou Moore was she was in the oil industry, so we were funded by the oil industry essentially, as well as the City of Dallas Office of Cultural Affairs, Texas Commission on the Arts, and then we were on our knees begging for the rest of whatever we could have in the bring in the door, and it was an extraordinary journey, and it was one that I will always treasure and love. And we were kind of naive to think that we could do this, and we did it, and it was not without a lot of controversy and a lot of drama, and who's the smartest person in the room and who's the person who's the most talented. And
sure.
When you're in your 20s, I've come to learn it's really the second round of the terrible twos. Well, you're building up your identity, right? You're trying to figure out who you are, and you want to stand for something, and you want to be known for something. And that was, I wanted to be, I wanted to be the Baryshnikov of modern dance. Never quite achieved that goal, but it was a great vision, right? It was something that that I now look back on, kind of embarrassed to admit. But hey, So.
Oh no, it's a dream, and in so many ways you accomplished that. I mean, maybe
well,
you're
not
not
Baryshnikov.
maybe not there, but you really. And one of the things that we love about this show is we do know that we have young listeners and aspiring dancers and artists, and so we always want to inspire them and motivate them by the guests and their stories to don't quit. Keep doing it.
I was very much at the time, was sort of an early seed of where I was going to eventually end up. But to me, dance was so much more than just about dancing, right? It was obviously about the discipline, but it was also about the mental game. right? And how one breaks through to high performance, and how one sort of taps in to what I call the mystery, right? And I think every dancer has experienced that, when you just feel at one with something that's larger than you, right? And so that was really, for me, what totally inspired me.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue. Wonderful segue. We're going to take a break. And one of the things that I want to make sure everybody stays tuned in for is the break is a video. I think it was like 2007.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So this was at the very beginning, well, not very beginning, but it was early on in my career. I actually was doing business as a transitions coach at the time. And I had also recently gotten my somatic coaching certification. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, no.
Oh, no, now?
Yeah, well, and what I loved about it is when I talked to you, obviously you're effervescent. I mean, you have this way about you, and that was really cool. But really wrapping my mind around what you do now, and how you've transitioned from this, starving artist and successful art director to what you do today is quite an accomplishment and a journey. So yes, I won't stop you from asking any questions. We might have a minute if you want to.
Well, you want to give us a little setup on what the video is that we're going to take a look at?
So this was actually filmed over a period of different trainings. One was an introduction to sort of discovering your inner superhero, which was a coaching program that I was considering creating. I was also doing a lot with executives in the embodied leadership. And so you'll see some of the exercises that I was doing in the room there, as well as giving a talk on sort of the nature of reality and how our beliefs and facts often get collapsed and this is really apropos to today even,
yes,
right?
Yes.
What do we consider the truth, and how do we actually, when we're leaders, how do we navigate that sort of touchy territory? So it's kind of a hodgepodge. There's not a lot of me talking, and I think it's actually was a function of some busted sound equipment, but there is some of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, you're listening to Art and Stage Talk Radio Show. This is Heidi Hardy, and we'll be right back.
Everybody's experienced going through a transition in their life, and oftentimes the scariest part is just not knowing what's on the other side. I support successful business people in having a bird's eye view about what their future is really going to look like, so that they can step into that future with a sense of confidence about who they are and the world and the person that they're creating. What I've found is that the coaching system that I've developed works equally well, whether it's a team of 15 and that team is the entire company, all the way up to an executive team that oversees a company or a corporation of over 40,000 employees. The system gets to the heart of the matter in a timely fashion that brings those teams to a set of winning behaviors that delivers winning results. Effective leadership, I've found, is often about a leader being able to entertain multiple interpretations. A real leader is able to bring seemingly opposing ideas together under one umbrella for a better resolution. What we realize is that 97% of all communication is nonverbal. That means that we're always saying something. The question is, what is it that we're saying and how is it being received? The Dance of Leadership is a program that's designed to really support people in embodying their leadership potential in a way that has them walk the talk. Creativity is a function of letting go of all the rules. What I found is that in working with teams in developing their creativity is that creativity breeds productivity. When people are free to say whatever is on their minds and to really brainstorm and open up to the questions of what if, and what if we change that and turned it upside down, there's an energy that gets released that has people
become inspired and enthusiastic, and productivity just goes through the roof. One of the things that's unique
And
about
welcome
my
back
approach
to
is that I
Art
really
and
ask
Stage Talk Radio. I'm your host, Tracy Jordan, along with my very lovely co-host,
Heidi Hardy.
Heidi Hardy.
I was going to say thank you very much.
She was
Heidi
just
Hardy.
basking in the compliment.
I was.
And tonight we have the effervescent and fascinating Lori Darley with us.
So good to be here.
Yes.
Again. I'm still here.
And we were just enjoying watching that video, and it's a terrific story. You know, I'll share with you. You're talking about people transitioning, and I think someone who goes through, anybody that's a dancer in their young life has to think like an athlete that, hey, I'm not going to do this all my life. And you have to think about where you're going after that performance part of your career, because it's only going to last a relatively short period of time. In my own experience, I discovered I had business opportunities come to me and doors open up that I discovered that the marketing tools that I had developed marketing myself as a performer, I could transfer over to marketing this business. And the communication skills that I had as an actor, I could translate over to business applications as well. And I think a lot of people don't realize these are gifts, talents that God has given you.
Right.
And it's not necessarily a question of, oh my God, what am I going to do when I can't perform? You're already doing it.
Yeah,
How do
well,
you
yes.
reshape it?
Right. So that's the connection that people don't often make when they say, so what did you do before you coached? And I tell them that I was a dancer. And for me, the transition was brought about through an exploration of what really deeply mattered to me. And one of the things that I connected with, I actually hired myself a coach to help me with a dance company. Because I was wondering if some of our challenges were a function of founder syndrome, and was I not thinking big enough and all that. And I was also recognizing that I knew I didn't want to, I knew I wasn't going to be a dance teacher and in that way, and I wasn't particularly attracted to university lifestyle either. What I was interested in, though, was in transforming people's lives. And so we engaged in a process which was about really discovering what my core values are. And one of them was to guide and to transform the way people think about the way they think. And I also discovered that I had verbal skills. And as a teacher, we develop that, right? When you're talking about directing people's energy, and that's incredibly valuable to leaders at every level, because we're always selling something, right? Whether you call it
Yes,
sales
absolutely.
or influencing, we have to be able to know how to be powerful and vulnerable at the same time.
And that's what an audition is, really,
Yeah,
too, right? It's a
right.
sales presentation. So.
Right. And you can't fake it.
Right.
Right. If you do fake it, they can smell you a mile away. Right?
Absolutely.
Very true.
Right. So that authenticity piece, as a performer, I also had to dance with my own internal journey around, as a performer, that sort of just almost energy that was too much for some people, right? How is it that I could be an artist in terms of the way in which I directed my own energy, and how could I also teach others the same?
Now, hang on and just back up a minute,
Yeah.
because you said something that
Literally.
I keyed in on, and you just kind of blew past it. But you said you discovered that you had communication skills.
Yes.
And I want to know how you discovered that, what it was, what experience that, because I know I had a couple of light bulb moments like that in my life that I thought, hey, this is a talent and a skill that I've got here that I can develop.
Right. Well, when you spend your childhood and your early adulthood developing the strengths of the body and personal expression, as a teacher, I knew that I had a gift for being able to connect people to parts of their bodies and in driving performance, right? In the early part of my coaching career, though, I didn't necessarily have the language that I needed to be able to articulate leadership. And And yet, what I did have was a very conceptual mind, right? That was I think, accentuated through the dance. I think dance can be very conceptual. So my journey has been, how do I bring that down into step-by-step processes that people who are more linear in their thinking strengths than me, so that they can get from here to there in a way that won't scare them half to death. Because I'm sort of like, I love to do it all now, right? And I love to participate in life from a more improvisational perspective. But not everybody's like me. And that was one of the big learning pieces. So the communication, to your point, Tracy, I think it's something absolutely that has developed over time, but I also think that it's how my brain is already wired, and I just didn't know it yet.
Well, so your company is called Conscious Leaders,
Yes.
LLC. And I have to say, I think I identify with you on the business side. I've never been a dancer. You'll catch me dancing every now and then in the clubs or something. But
Wait a minute, do that again.
just dancing every now and then. But from the business side, what you described, taking a creative thought and putting it into a linear process
Yeah.
is a very difficult thing to do. In my experience, there are people who kind of put creativity aside and then and take the route of business, but marrying those two together had to be quite a journey. And
The key is the communication piece,
Yeah,
right? If
yeah.
it lives in my head, then I'm unsuccessful.
okay,
Right. So no matter how creative I am, if I'm no longer on the stage, then I have to find a way to say it that people can hear it. When I first started, I would say a whole lot of stuff, but people didn't necessarily, they weren't tuned into me the way I was tuned into me.
Right.
And so that was a process of hit or miss and kind of finding my way. But once I understood that every time that I'm communicating, I'm really trying to get over into how you're listening.
And how you describe it to her might be different from how
Exactly.
you make it click with me
Right.
or another person.
Right. Right. So I'm listening for cues that other people are going to give me about what's interesting to them. What is it that, I'm always listening for what's their worldview. How do they perceive the world? What are the conditions that have brought them to this particular moment in time? Because you can't create a transformed life until you really truly are clear about who you are and why you are the way you are.
so this isn't just about business. This is a life-changing journey that you're taking people on,
And myself.
and yourself.
And myself. When
Wow.
I changed my name, my company's name from the transition, my whole life has been a transition, right?
Me too.
Right.
Yes.
But I've been also very impacted by organizations that are interested in not just shareholder value, but stakeholder value, and that conscious business movement, which is taking shape now in front of our very eyes. It represented to me a evolution of the way in which people lead, shifting from sort of the command and control methodology to a more collaborative, and also knowing when to go back and forth between what's wanted and needed in the moment. So a lot of that came from the rail transportation that I've been working inside of that company for the past 13 years. And so they have really informed me how to talk to a wide range of people, from first line former union to the top executives.
Sure.
So
You mentioned something, Tracy, the somatic.
somatic.
Yes, yes. Please give the class a definition of
Yeah,
somatic
yes.
training.
So the root word is Greek, soma, which means, for lack of a better word or definition, I often say it's the living body in its wholeness. And so I went on a year-long pursuit of that certification, and the reason I is that it married the linguistics, the language, to I'll say, a non-martial use of practices that grew from the Aikido, from Japanese martial art form called Aikido. So we are literally experiencing in a dojo, which is a training room or a place of practice, how to become aware of our body's fight or flight, freeze and please, when we are triggered, and understanding our own conditioning. So the body, which has been a beautiful, beautiful sort of, I'll say, addition to my coaching practice, and that is to give people something that they can never lose, and because the body is a barometer for everything that's going on. So when I get triggered, I know immediately in my body, whether it's sweaty palms or locked jaw or squinty eyes or heart palpitations. I know that my physiology has me, and I have fewer options in terms of my decision making process. So it helps me do that.
Yes. Yeah.
More effective decisions.
Well, it's very difficult if you're in a state, a physical state of anger or stress or anxiety to think and
Well,
think.
it's exactly like the training that they give soldiers in the military.
Absolutely.
Your training takes over so that you reacting to any given situation don't lose that cognitive awareness.
Yeah, and there's a lot of opportunities, especially in these days and times. People are sort of on edge, right? And
Very
we look
true.
at the airlines, what's happening there, and people don't know how to center and ground themselves, and we end up saying and doing things that we're not proud of.
That is a perfect example. We've all seen that video in the past
absolutely.
week
Scary.
of that unfortunate incident, which is just the second one
Yeah,
in
I
a
know.
short period of time. And, everybody complains about, oh, travel used to be so much fun and now it's just a drudge. Well, think about the people that work in that industry, in that environment,
Exactly.
day in, day out.
Right.
The stress on them, well, you saw a
Yeah.
manifestation of it. That flight attendant, the gentleman, lost his cool.
Yeah. And we all have a breaking point,
That's right.
but we can be in charge of our breaking point.
That's right. You have to know. You have to have that self-awareness, and that's just that situation. Just one example. That when something's coming at you like that, how are you going to deal with it? Because particularly if you're in public or in front of the public or in situations, it's not just about you. It's about everybody around
Exactly.
you. And you have to always. Okay, I'm going to go back to my Vegas days. You just knew, working in a casino, that you had dozens of cameras on you at any one time.
Yeah.
And so your behavior was governed by I'm being watched.
Yes.
I'm being watched.
Yes.
And now everybody has phones. So, and even if it's not that, to take it down to a more basic level, the people around you. As a performer and an entertainer, we think about, okay, audience reaction. How are they looking at me? What kind of a reaction is this going to get? And that just, it sounds to me like what you're describing, you're giving these folks is to always just have that on a default running in the
Understanding how the brain what the brain science is very useful, right? Because we do have a lot more choices available to us, but we have to train ourselves to get there and to move through that triggered state in a way that is, I'll say, graceful.
I can see how you could be in huge demand in Washington, D.C. these days.
Well, in corporate America, and
Yeah.
what a great segue, because we're going to take a break here. Really, the break is for our sponsor, the Dance Council, and so we'll learn a little bit more about what they're doing.
Yes,
But
wonderful.
the other part that I can't wait to dig my teeth into is this book, because it's called Dancing Naked, which I think is a catchy title, but I'm sure it has just a lot of really cool information inside of it.
We will remain fully dressed for the next segment, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll tell you how I came up with that.
Yeah, Tracy's monologue
wait.
is I can't wait to get out. But yeah, you're listening to Art and Stage Talk Radio with Heidi, Tracy, and Lori. We want to give a plug to the Dance Council, so we're going to play this video, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Dance Council of North Texas, a one-of-a-kind dance service organization that promotes and supports dance in North Texas. Since 1973, Dance Council of North Texas has served more than 663,000 through free educational activities, online and print publications, community outreach, and performances. A community-oriented arts organization that nurtures the entire life cycle of dance, from dance experts to those experiencing dance for the first time. Dance Council of North Texas exists to nurture dancers and choreographers, engage dance audiences, and heighten appreciation and support for dance. Dance Council of North Texas has seen unprecedented growth in recent years, reaching over 163,000 people in North Texas annually. Dance Council of North Texas serves close to 5,000 each year through educational programs like Youth Council, Dance Planet, adaptive dance classes and workshops, and DCNT summer scholarships. Over 100 Dallas ISD students engage in free educational experiences taught by premier dance professionals and have the opportunity to perform through the Youth Council program each year. Dance Planet is the largest free dance festival of its kind in the country. Dance Planet hosts over 30 master classes in an extensive array of dance styles to 1,000 dance enthusiasts at any stage and any age of their dance experience. Dance Planet offers inspiring talks with dance professionals, as well as opportunities to perform with 80 other dance groups in dance styles from all over the world. Each year, Dance Council of North Texas awards over $38,000 in scholarships to at least 45 outstanding dance students and one dance educator to attend distinguished summer dance programs and professional development seminars.
Hi, and welcome back to Art and Stage Talk Radio. I'm your host, Tracy Jordan, here with my lovely co-host, Heidi Hardy.
Hello.
And we have tonight with us Lori Darley.
Yes.
And almost tripped over myself there. And we're here with her tonight talking about her book. But before we continue, we just wanted to share with you about another one of our terrific Art and Stage Talk Radio sponsors. And Heidi Hardy, would you tell us about Real Life Media?
Absolutely. Well, I have a question. When it comes to personal and professional branding, have you ever considered starting a podcast of your own or a weekly radio broadcast? And if this hasn't been a part of your marketing and branding strategy, consider this. 21% of Americans aged 12 and up have listened to a podcast in the past month. That is up from 17% in 2015, and monthly podcast listenership has increased 75% since 2013. Also, for broadcast radio, the numbers are even better. An estimated 47%, or 127 million people, said they listened to online radio in the last month. That is up from 33% in 2013. What's all the hubbub about? It's about creating custom digital audio content to tell your story and get your message across to thousands of potential donors and customers. At Real Life Media, we believe in building your brand to power your potential. Be the first in your industry to become a podcaster or a radio broadcaster with Real Life Media. We will create, host, and produce your podcast or radio show today. Check out our website at www.HeidiHardyRealLife.com or call at 817-891-6472. We are not only a proud sponsor, but we produce and host Art and Stage Talk Radio Show. Like us on Facebook at H&M Group Real Life. Go to Facebook and put in search H&M Group Real Life and give us a like. We are so proud to be a part of this program, and we're grateful and honored. We being myself and everyone who helps me to do what we do.
Well, Dance Council is delighted to have our association with you, Heidi. And folks, if you're wondering what the heck is a podcast, you're listening to one.
Radio.
And it is the coming age. It is the coming wave in our information age. And the wonderful thing about it is it gives you, little you, if you're thinking, I have this little business out here and I can't compete with these big businesses. How do I get my story out there? How do I build my business and make my story known? This is the edge.
It is.
Digital
It
is
really
the
is.
equalizer, the great equalizer, and it's an incredibly cost-efficient and affordable way to get your message out. So we encourage you, give Heidi a call.
Thanks,
we're delighted to
Tracy.
work with her, and it's the wave of the future. So jump on the wagon.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much.
We're here and we're going to be dancing naked. I mean, we're going to be talking about dancing naked. And it's all a way to claim your power as a conscious leader. That's not conscience leader,
No.
mind you, a conscious leader. And so, Lori, give us the lowdown.
Yeah,
here.
so this book, actually, my book journey started about 10 years ago. And I was just writing furiously to kind of really just understand who I am, right? And then I got serious about a book, and it was more autobiographical. And I finished the manuscript called Dancing Naked, and then I'm deep in my business, of course, and I'm working with leaders in corporations, and I'm thinking, you know what? If my first book really needs to be about my work now, and who's going to want to read an autobiography about a person they don't really know anyway? So I put it aside. And I worked, and I went down a couple of different paths until I met a gentleman by the name of Corey Blake, who's the CEO of Roundtable Companies, and it's a storytelling company. And when I shared with him that I had this manuscript called Dancing Naked, he was like, well, that's actually your story. Yeah. And so we need you to, we want to know who you are as a coach, as a facilitator, as a culture creator, and alchemist, if you will, of leadership. And so we, basically the first half of the book is about claiming my power. And it was sort of how the story of the way in which my thinking, how I was influenced through dance, et cetera, brought me to now. And then the second half is called Claiming Your Power, and it is filled with stories about the people that I've worked with, some of the clients that I've worked with, as they have gone through what I call the clearing process, which is an embodied and also transformational leadership process. And so the title, actually, Dancing Naked, became obviously a metaphor for being authentic and being willing to put it all out there, so to speak, and allow people in to who I was, so that hopefully the book was something that people could curl up with at night to get to know me and see, maybe they want to work with me, maybe they don't, but at least they'll know who I am in the matter.
So I heard you say that you really had to think about the title because of
Well, I had one consultant who said that it would scare people away.
I don't know.
And I will tell you that this last Wednesday, I was at a conference in Philadelphia at the Conscious Capitalism Conference, and the books just flew off the table. So there's something about the title that is really resonating with people.
So you called this guy back up and said, nobody's running away. They're running too.
Exactly. I told you. You know, some of the most dynamic.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do you have to explain to them that it's not illustrated?
No, it's not.
No pictures. All words. No,
And I will put it on record that I have never danced naked.
not
for
that
anyone
anybody
else
knows.
other than
That's
my
the
husband.
burning question everybody's wondering out there.
No, let's just put that one to rest.
That could be interpreted a lot of. No, the best.
I want to be in on those executive training sessions. Yes, sir.
Call Lori now.
Yeah, maybe 25 years ago.
The most dynamic speakers, and I've had the pleasure of listening to many business professional speakers and speakers on all levels, and have this awesome opening story or catchy book name. I had a gentleman that I sat down, and I didn't know who he was. I was invited. I wasn't really excited about it because it didn't sound like it was for me. And he started the story with, I was homeless and on crack. I mean, he was, and then
That sucks.
And I know, and to
pretty
look
bad.
at him, he was very well dressed and put together, and very much like you, Tracy. Just really,
Good looking.
got it all together. Good looking guy. But for him to start his
Yeah.
his presentation that way,
Yeah.
man, I went from to what?
I bet.
And
Yeah.
and are you
You're
finding
right.
that
It
to be
immediately
the same
begs the
thing?
question, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, I
What's-
think people always want to hear that wherever they are in their own life, whatever internal, mental game that has them not step up, that has them that stops them, right? I think that everybody wants to know in a person's story, could that be true for me?
Yes,
Could I actually
connection.
break through with that? And I that's not my story, and I certainly feel for the gentleman who you were speaking with, and he at some point he woke up. He realized that he needed to be responsible for his own life, right?
Absolutely.
And everybody has that, I think, awakening, whether it's a crucible moment like a heart attack that you don't plan on, that sort of like opens up the circuits for me to think about things differently, or an intentional crucible moment, which can be a coaching kind of experience where you go, what in the dickens was I thinking that had me sell myself short, or had me take my experience or devalue who I am, and make that decision for somebody else?
Right.
And that to me is that's kind of sad.
Well, whether it's a really transformational situation like the gentleman you described, everybody reacts to different situations differently. Some destructively, some passively, some passive aggressively.
Sure. Absolutely.
But to a point, you said something earlier. People can curl up with your book and see and read it and see if you're right for them. And it kind of keys back to what I said earlier. How I describe for you may be different from how I describe for you and for the next
Sure.
person. You're not going to be right for everybody.
No.
I'm not going to be right for everybody. But your message,
And that's great.
but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But your message may
Resonate.
you're offering it out there for those for whom it is right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And I was just thinking, we all have the same doubts, we all have the same insecurities, and we all have different stages in our life, and we wonder, this has happened to me, and where am I going to go now? What am I going to do? What's the meaning of life?
Right.
What's the purpose? What's fulfillment?
Right.
And that answer is different for each of us.
And at different times in
That's-
I
yeah.
say it this way: our commitments advance and recede based upon our time in life. A mother has a completely different set of commitments than myself.
Sure.
At this point,
Yeah.
along the journey, and it's just up to us all to be open and curious. And even though your story may not be the same as mine, there's the magnificence of our humanity that binds us together.
One thing that you and I talked about on the phone that I want to touch on before we run out of time is we talked about emotional intelligence. And that's
Yes.
part of what you include in this training,
Yes.
coaching program. So give us a little sort of a 101 on that, and then how you incorporate it and take it from dance also.
Yeah, certainly. So I believe that our own internal conversations basically are 100% correlated with the results that we get in life, right?
Absolutely.
And those internal conversations, along with our emotions, our moods, all of those things come together in a way that we feel something, like we get triggered, and then we make something up about it. And it often translates to, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm overjoyed, I'm all these things. And it's basically based upon the story or the narrative that you tell yourself. So emotional intelligence is about that you have this story that elicits an emotional state. And if you are not clear about where you're headed, you're going to be on a roller coaster ride of those emotions. So the first piece around emotional intelligence is knowing that you have emotions,
Right.
knowing what the source of those emotions are, and then how is it that you regulate them and how you can use them rather than being used by them in a way that helps us build relationships, and also recognizing the impact on our decision making and our stress. So it's a big topic, and one in which I kind of strip it down a little bit, dancing naked. But I try to make it really simple for people to understand that what's going on in your head and the story you're telling yourself absolutely translates to your emotional state. And then you have more choices available to you, because you start to kind of interrogate the reality that you have created for yourself a little bit more consciously.
So it sounds like you're equipping people at whatever stage or phase they are to develop a set of tools.
Yes, the first C of the clearing process is about clarity. Who am I? How did I get here? What's my story? And if I wasn't my story, then who do I want to be? And then it's about completion. How do you get clear on how your past has impacted you? And are you dragging that baggage forward into your future, or can you let it go? And then it's about creating your life moment by moment out of an intentional and fully chosen action every day.
And accountability of it.
Yes, absolutely. This all comes down to personal accountability and responsibility. That is at the core of this.
You know, as a mom and a professional, when people say you're making me so mad, that just drives me crazy, because if I have that power over somebody, that's a whole nother, that's another
Yes.
show. Really, we should go into, but that's people do sort of default to that. In stressful times, and we have the power to not be mad or be feel like I'm being made mad by someone else.
May I share just one thing that I'm really excited about?
Sure,
in terms
absolutely,
of that I brought
please.
into my practice, which
Please.
is you've all heard of the drama triangle. It was started by a psychologist by the name of Karpman, and it's the victim, persecutor, rescuer. Well, that's the human condition right there. We're often just playing that one of those roles in one shape, manner, or form. So what's the alternative? And it's the empowerment dynamic. Victim goes to creator, persecutor goes to challenger, and rescuer goes to coach. And I have to tell you that transformation, the empowerment dynamic triangle, is so powerful with teams, because the accountability and the
I can see
personality
that.
just goes through the roof, and people are no longer making excuses, they're finding solutions.
Right. I love it. So we only have a couple more minutes. Tell us what you're doing now, and then how do people, buy your book and get a hold of you and book you for trainings.
So I
and-
have a website, which
because I've got to say, this is one of the most fascinating conversations I think we've had in the short
good.
history of our radio show in the last 4 months. But it's really fascinating. And if I'm sitting out there listening to the podcast, I would be ready to write down. Get your pens now, folks. How to follow up with you and have you come speak to my group or come speak to me, or
Yeah,
how
so
can I get your book?
my email is Lori, Lori, at Conscious Leaders, and it took me a while to learn how to spell conscious, CONSCIOUS leaders.us. So I think of it as Conscious Leaders Are Us, and my website is consciousleaders.us, and so you can contact me there. I'm also on Facebook, Conscious Leaders, and also my personal Facebook is Lori Darley.
Lori Darley.
Yeah. And Twitter at Lori Dar, LORIDAR.
You're on LinkedIn as well, which is
Yes.
very smart. And so that's just Lori Darley, LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think what's in store for me now is I've got 9 new clients coming on board in June.
Wow.
And so I'm doing a lot of corporate work. I still love to speak. The TED is not a TED Talk. It
Oh.
stands for the Empowered Dynamic. Just wanted to set the story straight about that.
Excuse me, thank
no,
you.
it's
Thank you
off.
for the
That's why
correction.
we're actually calling it the 3 vital questions. How are you? What are you focusing on? How are you relating? And what actions are you taking? But it's basically the antidote to the drama triangle. Anyway. I want to do a sort of part performance, part facilitation, part transformational training, and I'm looking at the Granada Theater. And
Okay.
I'm thinking about my friend who's listening in tonight. She knows that we booked a date, which is, I haven't booked it yet, but it's November 10th. And it'll either be an all-day thing, but the artist in me wants to come out and play. And I love the work that I do, and I also am a big fan of lightening up in leadership and sort of disconnecting from the seriousness of, of the matter.
Well, this show always goes way too fast, and we'd love to invite you back. Obviously, I'd love to maybe collaborate with you on
Absolutely.
some sort of project. So we'll stay in touch on that.
Okay.
But,
And in the meantime, we'll give a quick plug to Laurie Darling, Dancing Naked at the Granada Theater this November.
No, I don't know that that would be
we're
kosher.
going to get all kinds of calls and Facebook likes. But thank you so much for
thank you.
being
It's been terrific.
here.
Thank you.
Yes,
Wonderful.
yes. You're listening to Art and Stage Talk Radio Show, and do you want to lead us out?
And be back with us next week. You can find us here again. We'll be with you at 7 o'clock starting next week, actually starting this week.
Right.
And you can always find us on demand through thedancecouncil.org. Click on our Art and Stage icon there, and you can find our whole list of our archive of shows.
Yep.
And we'll look forward to seeing you.
Binge watch. Thank you again for
Thank
listening.
you so much for having me.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. It was a pleasure.